Hello, good morning, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm just waiting for folk to trickle in. Hi, I'm Lucy, COO at Strive, and there are so many people here today. While we're waiting for a few more people to join, please do say hi in the chat. Let us know your name, the organization you're tuning in from, and what's brought you here today. Literally the best moments of these webinars are the chat, so please do use it. And don't forget to set your chat to everyone, just so we can all connect. There's also a Q&A feature today at the bottom of your screen. So you can use this to kind of submit questions for our guests. I know today is going to be a busy one, so do get them in early. And if you see a question you'd love answered, just give it an upvote and we'll prioritize those. For anyone joining for the first time, a very, very warm welcome. And it is very warm today, so that's quite apt. As a quick introduction to us, Strive is employee engagement survey software, and we're obsessed with the idea that you absolutely need to be creating change from your surveys. And that's what our survey is built to help you with. And that's a little bit of what we'll be talking about today as well. We're also a little bit nosy here. We love to see where you're at and how you're feeling. So I've got a couple of polls I'm going to share with you throughout. And I've just launched the first one here for you. So do participate in that too. So let me take you back about 9 years. You're in a boardroom, except the boardroom is a little bit generous for what we're calling it. It's in a warehouse in Lee, and the air in there feels exactly as small as the room is. The room is feeling very heavy, a little bit stagnant and a little bit stale, just like the sales in the business. Every idea you're trying to push through in marketing as well is just feeling like pushing a boulder uphill. You get an inch forward, you let it go for a second, and it rolls straight back down. You can feel it in the silence before anyone speaks. You can feel it in the way everyone's eyes go to that exact same slide for the third time, if they're even looking at all. And they're hoping it suddenly all makes sense as well. Oh, wow, I'm seeing some very glamorous locations in the chat as well. You can feel it in the question nobody's brave enough to say out loud. Is marketing actually going to fix this? Or are we just hoping really, really hard? Because that's what it felt like back then. The whole weight of the company sat on whatever marketing did next. And then a guy walks in with a slide that has very generously about 1.5 things on it. No 12-point breakdown, no 40 bullet points, just enough that the whole room actually started paying attention. 20 minutes later, that board is singing from the rooftops, bought in, convinced, off of the back of that 1.5 point slide. I've worked with quite a few people since that windowless room in Lee. I've never seen anyone do what he did in there before or since. And here's the thing, that guy that answered for us in that boardroom is the exact same one. No, sorry. The question that guy answered for us in that boardroom is the exact same question I hear from HR leaders almost every single week at the moment. How do I take this and actually make my company use it? How do I make the board make sense of this? How do I create real change from what I'm working on at the moment? That was Max Hopkinson, co-founder of the Keynote Club, and today he's here with his fabulous co-founder Maddy to teach you exactly what he did for us in that room, for your data, hopefully for your leadership team, and hopefully for your people. Max is grinning. I had a whole lot of other things that I've edited out of that introduction, including boiled eggs, salt and vinegar peanuts, and dragging my ass up Primrose Hill at God knows what time in the morning. But that is us. I'm going to hand over now.
Oh, that's so funny. I've not thought about some of those memories for a very long time, but we were in full startup mode together for a while. It was a lot of fun.
It
I'm going to
was
share and pass the
was
mic to Maddie to kick us off. Just give me a second. Here we go.
Hey, hello everybody. I want to take you back 10 years. You're no longer in your jobs and you now work at Iceland Supermarket. You don't work in the stores, you work in the head office. And I'm sorry to tell you that the feeling though is pretty miserable right now. Sales are down. They're way down. And you can feel it. As Lucy said, you can feel it in every meeting that you walk into. You can feel it in the tone of the emails. You can feel it every morning when you walk up to those office doors and your shoulders just get that bit heavier. But there's hope We've brought in this bigwig, this guy from Google. He's highly respected for his digital marketing expertise. And I just know that he's got some big, some brave, and some bold ideas to help turn things around. And today, you guys get to meet him. So with that, I'm going to hand over to our new marketing director, Max Hoppy.
Hello, Icelanders. It's nice to meet you. My name's Max Hoppy. I'm the new director here, and I'm here to talk about the chicken sales, the sales problems we've got in the business that you are aware of, because this isn't a secret. Okay, next slide. Okay, you can see on the slide behind, there's a lot of data here to wade through. This is a complicated business. We employ thousands of people, 1,000 stores. There's a lot of interdependencies between the people in the stores, and we're still working out why. We don't fully understand why the sales are the sales, but we're working the situation out. So at this point, a little voice whispered in my ear, "You've no idea what the slide's on about, do you, mate?" Okay, so we've done a cluster analysis. The red dots show where there's risk, and the grey dots, there's still work to do. Do you even know how to breathe? Okay, let's fast forward to today. I don't work for Iceland Foods anymore. I feel bad sometimes starting with that story because they're a fabulous employer. But 10 years ago, I did have a panic attack in front of loads of people. I was really embarrassed and quit my job because I was so embarrassed. But actually, amazingly now, I wouldn't change it because it was the fuel I needed to start this business, the Keynote Club. Because after that incident, I worked on public speaking a lot, and I helped a load of people, about 2,000 people for free. And then I was like, there's a business to be had here. People need this skill. And I co-founded, at this point I met Maddy, and we co-founded the business. And we help people with speaking skills, speaking confidence. And quite often we're working with teams, not on stages, but teams in boardrooms, presenting lots of data to ops boards, managers, and trying to create change. And that's hard, right? And I'm an old friend of Stripe. Lucy referenced that in her intro. I kind of did a fractional role for Stripe, but it probably went on for a couple of years. And I got to know Lucy and the team, and we were working with schools at that time, helping kids speak up, which Stripe still does as its kind of pro bono activity, which I love that is still in the DNA of the business, helping kids speak up more and creating change in schools. Fantastic. But day to day, the Stripe is focused on helping businesses do that, and the kids thing is a byproduct. So old friend of Stripe.
And hi, everybody. I'm Maddy. I get the joy and privilege of being Max's co-founder. And whenever he goes, "Oh, I'm going to deliver this webinar," I go, "Oh, can I come along? Can we do it together?" Because we just have a lot of fun when we get to do these things together. And I am a new friend of Stripe, and I have met Lucy for the first time today, which has been fabulous. And I know the previous Kieran as well, or current Kieran as he still is. And today, I want you to all be having your chat open. As Lucy said, we're going to be using the chat because we're going to be doing some storytelling. But every time we do any type of skill shot, we are going to be interactive. So we want you to be having the chat open because we're going to be asking you to do stuff, because we don't believe that you learn anything by just listening. You're going to learn by doing some stuff. So what are we going to be doing? Max is going to start in a minute with a little warm up for us all. Then I'm going to take over. We're going to be doing some rhetoric and the shape of stories. And I'm going to hand back to Max to lead us into a Q&A. We're going to try and commit quite a bit of time for Q&A, so you can ask us some questions as well. So get ready for that too. And then we'll go into a close. And Max has thrown in, just likes to squeeze these things in, just a little extra mini skill shot for you at the very end as well. Okay, Max, go into our warm up.
Okay. So this is getting your typing muscles going, but it will link to Maddy's lesson on rhetoric. I want to know, you've got 30 seconds to come up with this. What's your favourite monologue from a movie? If you don't know what a monologue is, which I didn't until recently, it's when somebody's kind of got the microphone, they're speaking kind of uninterrupted, You know, it could be for 10 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. So have 30 seconds to think about that and bang in the chat what you came up with. And if you can't think of monologue, just put favourite scene of film. Okay. So let me just start the time. Okay. Maddy, heads up, I am going to ask you for yours. So make sure you've done your homework.
I'm writing it. I don't remember the exact words.
I don't need to share for this. I'll stop sharing so you can look at the chat. I forgot coming in. Okay, anyone with, is that a Game of Thrones reference? I think it might be, or Lannister certainly is. Helm's Deep, Lord of the Rings, unreal. Yes, it is a Game of Thrones reference. Awesome. Impossible to Be a Woman from the Barbie film. Fun rogue fact, my brother is good mates with Margot Robbie because his mate from uni married her. Like he went to Man Met, and he's now a famous movie producer in his own right. So God knows. I mean, he never introduced me to it. But they go on holiday together. It's ridiculous. Right, what was yours, Maddy? Forget my personal shenanigans about Maddy.
You've heard mine before when I share different ones on different occasions, but one of the ones that I loved, my dad used to, I used to watch action movies with my dad, which I loved, like some war films. And Braveheart was one of my favorite, and it's when Mel Gibson's on top of the hill and he's giving everybody like the rallying cry, and he says,
Yeah.
I can't do a Scottish accent.
Do it now.
I can't, and I'm not going to try. He says, you know, they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. I love that bit.
Okay, Lucy, we're recording. Can we clip that? And we're going to use that in our marketing.
That was beautiful in your very lovely English accent. That was, it had a special ring to it.
Not tell Mel Gibson about it.
Look, there's some epic films in here, and there's some disasters. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, unbelievable. That Robin Williams scene in Good Will Hunting, I'm guessing that's on the bench. Like, that makes the hairs on my arms go up. I'm not going to talk about 10 things I hear about you. Let's just say it wasn't my favourite. I can't remember. I don't know the scene you're talking about. I have seen the film. Mine would be probably the Tom Cruise one, courtroom drama, A Few Good Men. When Jack Nicholson stands up, you can't handle the truth. If you've seen it, you'll remember that scene. Now, and that line, life is like a box. Now, there is a little thread. There's a little lesson in here. A lot of these answers, the words have got power in them. And it's because they've been written by somebody who knows something about rhetoric. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to pass to Maddy just now, who's going to deliver a little micro lesson on rhetoric, because this is super effective in business. We use it all the time.
Okay, we'll get into rhetoric. So to kick us off into rhetoric, I need to take us back to 300 BC to this guy. This is Aristotle. And 300 BC, we didn't have stats and data, and we didn't have even writings down, etc. We just had the art of speech. And the art of speech was how we moved people to action. We pitched ideas. We got communities together. It was democracy. It was your way to rise in society. And Aristotle started to observe and watch those who were the most persuasive. And he started to observe 3 things that were being used, and he called them the rhetorical appeals. And I'm going to share them with you now. So the first one was the appeal to logic. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. It's hot. I'm assuming most of us are in the UK, or at least in Europe somewhere, and it's quite hot at the moment. So I'm going to give you a little example. Let's say that I need to persuade my son to wear sun cream today to school. For anybody that has children, know that'd be quite hard work. Okay, let's just say to him that I say, look, it's really hot outside. I think you should wear some sun cream today. Okay, it makes sense. It's hot. Wearing sun cream, Sunny. It's logical. It just makes sense to do it. It's got a good narrative to it. That's the appeal to logos. The second one is the appeal to ethos, which is the credibility. So if he's like, yeah, rolls his eyes, etc. What if I go, yeah, but look, it's 34 degrees right now and it's going to get to 40, and it says it on the Met Office app, okay? It's not just mum making it up. It's on here, 40 degrees. If you don't wear sun cream, you're going to burn. Okay, so I've added in a bit of credibility, not just mum, eye roll. but some credibility. Where did it come from? Who's saying it? Met Office app. It's got a number behind it. It's believable source. So that's ethos. And the third thing that he observed being used was the appeal to pathos, the feelings. Now, if I'm mum and I'm trying to get him to wear sun cream, I could say to him, look, if you don't put on some sun cream, you won't be allowed out to play at break time and lunchtime. And I think you'll feel a little bit sad when all your friends get to go and play outside and you have to stay inside in the classroom, don't you think? That would be me using the appeal to feelings. So open up the chat and I want you to tell me which is the appeal you see the most in some survey presentations. Is it that logic, logos being used? This is what's happening and this is the output, etc. Is it ethos? Is there some credibility, some stats, some sort of relevant sources where it's coming from? Or is it pathos, the feelings behind that? I'm going to just give you a minute, start watching the chat. Got lots of logic coming in. Mostly ethos and logic. Yeah, right. Yeah, logic for sure. Ethos. Okay, good. I was expecting a little bit of a blend today. I normally get lots of logic. Depends what companies you go to, whether stats and data and things like that. If we're using surveys, I imagine sometimes there's some ethos going on, right? So this is where we got it from. Here's some numbers to back it up and give it some credibility behind it. Absolutely. But as Jane says, seldom pathos, right? Seldom pathos. And yet, in every survey, behind every number, behind every quote, is normally something that's happening to someone somewhere. There's some kind of human being affected. And when we use all three, what Aristotle observed with those who were the most persuasive in society, they were using all three of them. They were using logic, they were using credibility, and they were using feelings to move people into action, to persuade people. And feelings is often probably the one that's the most forgotten about in its power of persuasion. I'm going to give you a little insight behind the scenes of how I opened today for Max. So I had a little bit of a setup of a speech and I was using it really purposefully. Now, I put in some very purposeful bits of rhetoric in here, rhetorical appeal, the logos, ethos, and pathos. And I'm going to leave it up on screen in a minute. And I want you to tell me, what can you see? Okay, so what logic in this narrative, my little script, could you see? What did I put in there that was just rational and reasonable? What did I put in there that was an appeal to some credibility or some character? And what did I put in there that was some appeal to feelings? Okay. So I'll leave it on screen. We're going to give you 3 minutes, Max, you time us, and then pop into the chat. Okay, so about 2 minutes, I'll shout and I'll say, put it into the chat. But for now, just have a little look at it.
Can I do it too?
Yeah, remind me it too.
No, is it, can I play the game too? I want to get
yeah, play the
start.
game. Cheat.
I was going to say that too. I've done this exercise, so I feel like it's cheating. I've also got my cue cards in front of me that I'm going to...
You
see, you're just building the muscle.
Cheating.
When we do it and we do it again and we do it again and we do it again, we build the muscle.
Yeah.
90 seconds left.
Okay, start popping into the chat. Where have you seen some logic in here? Where can you see some ethos in here, some credibility? And where can you see some pathos, some feelings? Doesn't matter which word you use. Credibility. Ex-Google. Yeah. Guy. Ethos. Guy from Google. Yeah. Both of you. Lucy, Catherine. Excellent. Yeah. The guy from Google. There's just something about Google, isn't there? Where we go, ooh. Good. Good. Yeah. So much pathos, Tilde says. Yeah, Miriam, pathos, you can feel it. Right, very purposefully, I'm using it. Yeah, you can feel it. I'm telling people there. Starts with logic, setting the scene, and then skips to feelings before going into ethos. Yeah, Michael, well done. Starts with some logic. Yeah, what's happening? The logic is probably sometimes sort of harder to spot in this. Pathos, hope. Well done. There's hope. Yeah, that's a switch in it. So I'm gonna show you that in a minute. But that's that switch, right? So I took you down, lots of feelings, and then there's hope. Yeah, very heavy in pathos. You're right, Catherine. This was really purposefully heavy in pathos because I wanted you to feel what was happening, genuinely what was happening in that organization, so that you understood where Max was at in this true story of setting him up. He's going to come in and solve everything, putting a lot of pressure on him, right? And that's how everybody in the audience was feeling. Underlying argument is logos. Max has got it. Yeah, so underlying argument is logos. Max, go on. I'll hand over to you. I won't keep talking. Share with us. Things are bad. We're bringing an outsider in.
Well, yeah, it's logical. It might be wrong,
Makes sense.
by the way.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's right, but it's logical to say, like the logical argument there is internally it is not working. We are bringing in an external expert. That's logical. It might not work, but it is logical.
Perfect. Yeah. The whole narrative. Things are rubbish. What should we do? I don't know. Let's bring in someone who we think's got some expertise who can help turn stuff around. Awesome. That's how a typical thing happens in business as well. Okay, thank you for sharing what you spotted. I'm also going to give you some extra stuff that we threw into there, which added a little bit of impact in terms of each of these. So added to the logos, the ethos, and the pathos by using some sort of sticky language, some rhetorical devices. So the first thing I did was shared, I'm going to begin by asking you to go back in time by 10 years. That's called narrative transportation. So immediately I'm putting a time frame on it and I'm asking you to move in that time frame. In essence, you know I'm going to start asking you to go into a story, narrative. We know that. So you're about to go into a story. The other thing I used was epizeuxis. It's where we build on what we've just said. Sometimes it's a repetition of that word or that sentence to make us feel. So I'm making you feel something and then I'm going to enhance that feeling. So in this case, I said sales are down and then I went way down. I could then say that things are going better and they're going to get even better and maybe they'll grow into something even further. So epizeuxis is we're going to build either down or up, we're going to build some feelings. The next thing that I used was anaphora, which is the repetition of the start of a sentence. You can feel it. You can feel it in every meeting. I could have just said you could feel it in every meeting and the tone of the emails and when you walk up to the front door. But I didn't. I repeated that. And that feeling then was bringing you down. So sort of combined with epizeuxis as well. You can feel it in, you can feel it in. And then you nailed it in the chat. There's hope, right? A pathos. This is a pivot. So we are taking you down. It's feeling really awful, but there's hope. I'm giving you a sign that we're about to switch on those feelings. Those feelings are about to change. And if ever you've been told you can't use but when you're doing communication, you absolutely can. You can use it when you're about to change the conversation, change the direction, switch and move into something else. But we're going to move away from that and we're going to go into something new. Okay, I also used a triad of alliteration. It's when we use the consonants at the start of the word and repeat them. So big, bold, brave. And then each of those is using rhetoric to make those words sticky. It enhances the feelings, the logic, and that ethos in there to make them really pop out. And just, I think, by the way, side note, Max might disagree with me. If you want to use AI for stuff, sometimes getting some ideas of like, oh, what rhetoric could make my stuff stronger? Don't use it verbatim, but it's nice to have like a creative partner on some stuff that you're doing. This is a really nice word to kind of add some power to some words. Stories are 22 times more likely to be remembered than facts alone. What do stories have? Lots of feelings. So stories are a wonderful way to really bring pathos into any communication that we're sharing. So with that, we're going to share with you, what do stories start to look like? What do we mean by stories? How do they kind of show up? And one of the nicest ways to look at this is by looking at stories that are built as shapes. And to do that, I'm going to share with you a little video. It's quite old, so just be aware, and it starts quite quiet, and it's a couple of minutes long. And it's by Kurt Vonnegut, who is one of America's most prolific kind of novelists. And he started to actually sort of shift from a novelist almost to scientist. He got under the skin of what were the novels that were the most successful. You had novel after novel after novel that was successful. And he saw that we're quite addicted to story shapes. We love some of the shapes of stories. And he started to share what these shapes were. So let's watch him do that.
As well.
Well, there's no reason why the simple shapes of stories can't be fed into computers. They are beautiful shapes. This is the GI axis, good fortune, ill fortune. Sickness and poverty down here, wealth and boisterous good health up there. Here's the very middle. Now, this is the BE axis. B stands for beginning. E stands for electricity. Now, this is an exercise in relativity, really. Is the shape of the curves of what matters and not their origins. So we'll start a little above average. Is why get a depressing person? We'll start... The whole thing, we call this story Man in Hole, but it needn't be about a man, and it needn't be about somebody getting into a hole. But it's just a good way to remember it. Somebody gets into trouble, gets out of it again. People love that story. They never get sick of it. All right, not copyrighted. Another story, also a beautiful curve and easily fed into a computer, called Boy Gets Girl, but it needn't be that. Just a way to remember it. Start on an average day, average person, not expecting anything to happen a day like any other. Find something wonderful, just loves it. Oh, God damn it. Got it back again. People like that. Now, these are beautiful curves, and this gets a little complicated. Computers can now play chess, so I don't know why they can't digest this very difficult curve I'm going to draw for you now. And it so happens that this is the most popular story in our civilization, Western civilization. As we love to hear this story, every time it's retold, somebody makes another $1 million. You're welcome to do it. Now, surprisingly enough, I've said it's depressing. You know, people don't like stories about below average days and people. But we're going to start way down here. Worse than that, who is so low? It's a little girl. What's happened? Her mother has died. Her father has remarried a vile-tempered, ugly woman with two nasty daughters, big daughters. You've heard it. See? Anyway, there's a party at the palace that night. She can't go. She has to help everybody else get ready. She has to stay home. Now, does she sink lower? No. She's a staunch little girl, and she has had the maximum whack from fate, which is the loss of her mother. She can't go any lower than that. Okay, so the fairy godmother comes. Gives her shoes, gives her stocking, gives her mascara. Gives her a means of transportation, goes to the party, dances with the prince, has a swell time. Boring, 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 boring. Now there's a slight inclination to that line as I've drawn it because it takes perhaps 20 seconds, 30 seconds for a grandfather clock to strike 12. Does she wind up at the same level? Of course not. She will remember that dance for the rest of her life. Now, she poops along on this level till the prince comes, the shoe fits. She achieves off-scale happiness.
Hope that you've all enjoyed that. Sorry. There we go. Okay, now it's going to be your turn. I'm going to ask you to create a shape of a story. I want you to think of a childhood film. Okay, nothing to do with work. Back to childhood. It could be a storybook. It could be a favourite film. Max, I'm going to ask you in a minute what you're going to pick so other people can get us an idea as well. And I want you to map it onto a story canvas. Okay, and just show you it looks a bit like this. Okay, so just draw like fortune down the side, time along the bottom. Max, what story are you doing? Give us a little bit of an insight.
Lion King, probably.
Oh, Lion King. Okay, great. Right. So everybody just start to just do your own bit. I want you to think of a story and I want you to map it onto a canvas. Max, time me and let me know when it's been a minute.
Probably. Oh no, it was a minute. I didn't start the timer. Feels like a minute.
It was a minute. I looked at the clock.
Okay. All right. So if you want to pop into the chat, I'm just curious, what movies did you come up with? And if you can, like maybe give me like one of the lows that was in there and one of the highs or something like that. Just a little like plot point, maybe one of the pivots that was in there, etc. Okay, so open up the chat and share. And sorry, I've seen the video was a bit jumpy. We will share the link afterwards so you can rewatch it yourself. Lucy, what movie did you use?
So I used High School Musical, and I have my plot from our Domino 1 program here.
Oh, hold on, I'm going to stop
so
sharing.
I went through that. So I came very prepared today. So this I can give you a brief, but this is when Troy and Gabriella meet on a holiday. They're all right, like they're kind of happy they're away. And then we move through to their singing together for the first time, and Troy realizes he loves singing, and so does Gabriella. This is when they kind of join high school and they realize they're in different worlds, so they're a little bit lower. They come back together for their winter musicale audition and reunite, but then Troy gets kind of caught out being recorded and saying, I don't care about Gabriella, I don't care about singing, I'm from basketball world, I care about you guys and the team. But then he comes to his senses and they rejoin and sing Breaking Free, and the world is at peace again.
Lucy, I've not seen it, so I feel like a little overview of the plot now.
Yeah, sorry.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Fun fact, I actually watched it 7 times in one day. I don't know if that's so.
Okay. So why this is a perfect jumping off point, Max, if it's okay, I'll carry on because I want to get
Yeah, please do.
Lucy's just given me a perfect insight to next bit. Why did Lucy watch it so much? And I get to this bit. So in that shape, you can see Lucy's got some real highs and some real lows. And the common denominator in the movies that we watch time and time again, I bet you think about those favorite ones that you've got, is they've got some really good pivots in them. Things are going really badly wrong. Some stuff feels rubbish. It feels scary. It's down low and it switches, it changes. And then things are going really great, or at some point, some things are going really great and they're going so great. We know that's going to change. Those pivots get our attention and they're the bits that we remember. Lucy was able to plot that, I'm sure some of you were, because they're the moments that we remember the most, because they are the moments where emotion comes alive. Emotion is at its strongest, it's at its peak or its trough. And that's where we build connections, we lean in. And a little side note to surveys. They are often killing the monster stories. They should have lows and they should have highs. There should be in it about what are the problems that we're trying to solve, or what are the problems that are coming out. And we need to show those. We need to face them. If we just kind of go, here's some great stuff, etc., it's not as interesting. We want to see the monster. We want to feel the monster that's there. And then we feel even better when we know we can fight it. How do we do that? And then we feel even better getting to that top and overcoming that. And it's often okay to sort of kill that monster and go, we're going to kill it, we're going to get to here. But there might be some extra things, some extra worries, some extra concerns around the corner. But we've thought about that and how we're going to address it. And this is how we're going to address it. And we'll leave them on an even bigger high as well. So presenting survey results can often be killing the monster stories. They should have highs and they should have lows in them. And a little geeky side note that I just love, the word tension and attention comes from the Latin word tondra, which is to stretch our mind, to stretch those feelings. And I would think stretching is like leaning in as well. So when we create tension, we lean in and you'll get our attention. The next time you present some survey results, where are you going to build in the tension? And with that, I'm going to stop there. We're going to open up the chat. We've got some Q&A, and I know, Max, we've got a couple of questions that Lucy asked us as well that we can come to as well, right?
So this one there, Q&A. Oh yeah, how do you find that through? This is a really good one. So when you get lots of survey data, you really risk. It comes back to a marketing lesson. Like if I throw 5 oranges at you, drop them all. If I just do it, 5 oranges. If I throw 1, there is a much more likely. It's a lot more likely you will catch it. And this is a very difficult thing to do, because if you've got insight from your survey data, you've got 20 insights, say, like you're going to have to decide which ones you're not going to share. And they're all good. So you're going to have to decide that one of those things that's good, you are not going to share it today. And I still struggle with it today, because I always want to show people everything if I think that it's got value in it. But we can't. Like, we've got an hour today. We had to cut so much out of this, and it annoys us every time, because we're like, oh, but this lesson we really good. But we can't. If we put it in, we risk losing the whole caboodle. So you've got this editing job. I'll give you a few other little builds on this thought. You often have multiple opportunities to share information. And as a marketer, trained marketer, I thought about this a lot. So you've got the advert, the one that you spend all the money on. So that one, you've got to be super disciplined. Get your 1 orange or a couple of oranges in there. You've got other things as well. You might have an email that you send a week later, say. Or you might have something that you can share with the customer before they see your advert. You've got your storefronts. You've got like other touch points to get your message across. So if we go into your world of maybe presenting insight to a leadership team to create change, you've got the pre-meet, you've got the pre-read, you've got the appendix of the presentation that maybe does have all 20 and you don't go through in the meeting. You've got the post follow-up. So you've got to think, like, if you're going to be strategic about this, you've got to work out what's the orange that you need to throw at them, or the couple of oranges. And then the next ones, you're triaging here, the next priorities, maybe you're going to share those in a different way. But it really comes down to the less is more principle.
So I have a question on your orange. How would you go around picking that orange? So that's one thing we see a lot from our HR focus. Yeah. Every orange feels very important. You've just said it too. Yeah. What kind of decision-making factors would you put into picking that one orange?
I think you're balancing a couple of things, right? You've got, what does the business need to hear? So that's one side of the argument. And I don't know your prioritization mechanics. It could be which insight is going to affect most employees. Yeah. That'd be a way to prioritize. Or which insight, if we changed it, would make the business the most money. If you want to get transactional about it. Like, so you got that. You've then got your audience, slightly different So if you're presenting to an ops leader, I used to work with a business that had a huge field operation of people. If I was presenting to the leader, the ops director, I know that he cares about his team the most. Yeah. So the business actually might want to make a change that doesn't affect his team. But I've got an insight that really affects his team. I've now got a tension between what is actually going to create change in my audience and what the business needs. And that's often the case. And I don't have the right, and there isn't like a perfect answer, do this. It's looking at those tensions and thinking, okay, well, and then what I then do is I trust my gut. This is honestly what I would do. What do I feel is the right move? Now I understand the competing priorities. What's my tummy saying? And I've learned to trust that. When I was younger in my career, I didn't. I probably was trying to please people rather than trust my gut. Probably please the person that I most wanted to please in the business. Often the CEO, but it might have been my boss. And then as I've got a bit older and with more grey hair, I'm like, okay, I now trust my tummy on the right thing to do.
No, you're very right. The best organizations we see presenting that data back are very, very conscious of who they're presenting to and brave in the idea, which is what you've kind of said, in that the data and the storytelling piece doesn't need to be the same for everyone, and we can adjust things. It can feed into that headline, it can support it. I have no good analogy apart from a table. So you've got the tabletop, you've got the legs feeding into it. It all supports it. It's all there, but it can be slightly different for different people. So that's kind 100%. Of what we see. Catherine's popped a question in the chat just to build on that a little bit, and that's that kind of action planning piece. So is there a way to present proposed solutions just as effectively? So we've kind of talked about the data piece, but then obviously it's that kind of it's the presenting of change, isn't it, that's quite difficult sometimes.
I'm going to answer it and then I'm going to throw the ball to Maddy, because to see if you've got either difference of opinion or builds. So I think Maddy's lesson on logos, ethos, and pathos, I would be presenting the solution hitting those three things. So there's probably a logical answer, which is not that inspiring, or it's not going to get fire in your belly, but logic. Your credibility probably comes from, we've got the data that supports this insight, and we collected it in a very robust way. And then the pathos, I would bring it to life with I'd try and mix a story that is very anecdotal but full of feelings and the spreadsheet impact is bang, supported with with how you've done the SOMS campaign. That would be your ethos then. So if it was around, I need a real example to try and bring this to life. But if it was about, I'm going back to my ops example. So we had hundreds of tyre fitters on their own, on driving around fitting tyres. That's a tough job, actually. I might tell a story about Steve and how Steve's going to feel if we make his world better so that he can do his job and he can also get back to his wife and kids and he can have it all. And then I'll back that up with a spreadsheet that says, if we retain more Steves, we save thousands of pounds in recruitment. Our customer satisfaction, we've got evidence to say it goes up when people have repeat tyre fits from somebody that's been in business for a long time. So I'd give you this heart-wrenching story about Steve with bang, like this is the CFO answer. And that'll be more powerful. One on its own isn't as good. Like an anecdotal story on its own is weak with a board, but combo it with good data. Maddy, what if I'm waffling on here.
So similar. Yeah, no, because I saw the chat from Catherine and that's exactly it. I would say I love a sort of before and after story. So let's take Max as example, Steve. What's Steve experiencing now? It's rubbish, right? If there's a solution to have, instead of doing the solution next, I call them imagine if stories. Let's go forward and imagine if. Now repeat the story, but it's like sliding doors. This is the alternative version that Steve could be experiencing in the future. You've not revealed it yet, but if your solution worked, basically. So paint the picture, first of all, sell that, then go back and now do the logic, like this is the solution, and throw in some credibility, maybe to say, we know this will work because we've seen it before, because another company's done it, or there's some stats or some evidence elsewhere that backs up that this solution is the right solution.
When you do the imagine if, do you use the present tense when you're telling the imagine if story? You do?
Yeah, I definitely.
Why do you do that?
Because it's narrative transportation, right? So if I want you to imagine, then I want you to be there in that moment. Like we are living that reality right now.
Yes.
So if I'm asking you to imagine the future, let's go into the future and live it as if it's happening right now. So no matter what, you want to tell the past, let's go back. I'll tell it in the present tense. Let's go forward into the future and imagine if, and I'll still tell it in the present tense because we're moving in time and then still living it here and now.
I really love that you always teach me something every time I speak to you guys, but one thing I don't think that it crystallized quite as sharply in my mind was there's the storytelling piece. And, you know, I think especially when I'm thinking about it from an employee survey perspective, we are living in data and spreadsheets a lot, but we do encourage a lot of our customers to bring in that storytelling piece through kind of the free text follow-up questions that we have in our software. So they've got that to lean on. But the piece that I'd never really sharply considered, I guess, is layering that with some business data. So Max kind of said, layer it in with, you know, here's the storytelling piece, here's what it could do, but actually how will that look for the business if we imagine that change? And that's perhaps something that I think our HR folk could definitely take away, is working closer with colleagues around if we make this change for the team, it's not just that's a nice to have for their well-being or their engagement, it does have a business impact.
I mean, back to your audience point earlier, like understanding the incentives of for the audience you're presenting to. If you want to create change, it's basically lining your narrative up with their incentives. If you do that, you've got more chance. And then layer in things like how you tell the story, like logos equals pathos. I promise you'll now be a very effective change maker.
Yeah.
This sounds easy when you say it out loud, but this is really hard. I'm slow to think. So don't think like if you're like, oh God, like why am I not? I still suck at this and I train it for a living, but I'm getting better each time. There's always something to do better.
Definitely.
Let's go to another key question because I want to go. We've only got 30 minutes and I want to do this one. Slide etiquette techniques. Let me just share a slide because this is a really cool lesson I got.
And then afterwards, Max, we've got one more question in the chat as well.
Okay, well, I'll be super fast on this then. So this is a lesson. This is a lesson I got given over 10 years ago. Actually, what was at Google? Maddy referenced Google. This was my old boss at Google. He told me this. And we were often presenting a lot of data to clients because we had a lot of their data. So the slide I used, this is a made up slide. But when I did the Iceland thing and had my panic attack, I was using someone else's slides and they were full of stuff. Like they made your head heavy. So when I panicked, I was like, oh my God, what's the slide on about? And I looked at the slide. I was like, oh my God, I have no idea. And that actually is a failure of the slide. It's a failure of prep. But a good slide looks like this. So this is genuinely how I was trained. Make the headline of the slide the main point of the slide, so that if someone just reads that, they get the main point. Okay? If you're having a chart or a visual thing, make it simple and strip out all the stuff that just adds kind of cognitive load that doesn't add to the point of the chart. So this chart, that is a made-up chart, like the point I'm trying to make is the delta's getting wider. Yeah? I've removed the bloody axes. You don't even need to see that for that point to be made. Okay? And then if there's a second or third point, maybe make it to the right hand side. The last thing I'll just call out is the reference at the bottom. This is an ethos play. It will not be read by everyone, but it is a credibility little sprinkling. And if you are challenged on your slide, where's this come from? You take comfort in the fact that you've got the reference there. And I have done this, like this is my way of presenting data. 1 point per slide. It's a myth that you need to only have 3 slides or one. Like the point is you just can't overload the audience. You may be able to do 100 slides and not overload them if they're very visual. And within those 100 slides, there are only 3 big points that you're kind of repeating on, building on. Equally, 3 slides can be far too many if it's a slide like this Iceland slide I made up. So I feel that's been a dead practical one for me that I hope might be helpful. Right, quickly, Maddy, go to you said you had another question. What was it?
There is another question. How do you present to leaders who haven't bought into the survey or are dismissive of the results? So if areas of concern account for a small number of people, which I'm happy to go first. So I've read it and then I'll throw the ball to you.
You go.
And Lisa, feel free to jump in. So I always think you've got to have an empathy link with whoever you're presenting to. You've got to know what they care about. And different people will care about different things. So who are you talking to and why should they care? Why should they care? Because not everybody cares about stuff that you'll care about. So what do they care about? But ultimately, if you don't know, I think, first of all, I love the kind of like 5 whys thing. It's like, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Keep asking that question. At some point, you'll get to something which is, for instance, it's not about the first bit in it, but it's like the 4th why down, you'll find an impact of story that's like, if this is actually this piece of work, if we could change this number, this would take everybody 3 hours less in the business. Maybe if that person cares about stress of people, then I'd talk about the impact of that time that it's taking for people to do that job. If they care about money, I might translate that time into money that's being spent for every employee taking an extra 3 hours that's unnecessary. So if we could reduce that 3 hours down, what would that save us in money? So what do they care about? And thinking, is that feelings, is that money, etc., and being able to cover those. So that's what I would be looking at, is asking myself why and getting to a story and then translating that into what they care about. Max, what would your answer be?
Your opening on it for me, it's around like you've got to build an empathy somehow. Like do it before the meeting. Ideally, you can't always, but lots of people that manage boards, I only learned this after found out this happens. Lots of good CEOs manage their boards before the board meeting. They'll do a little one-to-one with the non-exec or the chairman, and they'll just socialize certain things before there's a big reveal. Like a big reveal in a meeting is full of risk. So it's like, how do you avoid that? And it's difficult, but that's how you do it. How do you do that? And then I'll give you one little tool I've found quite effective. Say that somebody's dismissing your survey because of sample size, which I think is one of the things referenced in the meeting. You've only got 9 respondents. I would do something, a little tool called Feel, Felt, Found. So the first thing is I'd acknowledge that concern. I understand how you feel. In fact, in a previous job, I had similar presented, and I felt the same. I thought this is too small a sample size. And then agree with them again. Feel, felt, found. So felt. I also know some other people that felt the same. Steve, I'm making another Steve up, the ops director, he's also called Steve, also told me the same concern earlier. And I think it's legitimate. However, this is when you do the switch cell. However, we have found, even with small sample size, particularly with qual, like particularly when you're trying to understand why, so making some, like actually, when you find there's like a high frequency of agreement within that 9, you can actually take it for like a much big, it's a much more robust thing than it initially presents. And I think that we can do a little extra test on the validity of the insight, but we should plan now. So you give them an agreement twice. I understand how you feel. Other people have felt the same, and then you do the switch now. And it's hard to do. You've got to prepare for that. But that's what I did. And it's kind of called disagreeing with empathy, because you're finding common ground twice before you disagree.
Very nice. I actually think that answer I was going to prompt you to give to Rani's question, which is, what would your approach be to dealing with a topic that's extremely sensitive and has opinions that can be uncomfortable to deal with personal interests and senior leaders? I think Feel, Felt, Found is a fantastic tool to use when you're in and acknowledging feelings or uncomfortable. Different people have different feelings, and trying to socialize that or bringing in other people's, etc. That sort of Feel, Felt, Found is a fantastic tool. I'm going to move us on, if that's all right, Max.
You want me? If you want, I can canter us through for time.
Sure, go for it.
No, actually, fuck that. Excuse my French. Load of HR leads, I used the F-bomb. Sorry, cut that out, Lucy, from the recording. Go on, Maddy. You do. I feel I've just swiped your legs from under you.
That's absolutely fine. I'm used to your rogueness, and I love it. It makes the enjoyment in every day.
At least it's real.
Okay, this is our close quickly. So I just want you to think, right, we don't do this stuff for fun. when you're doing this and we've asked you to have a little bit of practice and we've thrown some things at you, I just want you to take 30 seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds. Write down something, write it down. Don't just think it, write it down. What are you going to take from today? What did you get from today that might influence how you'll show up tomorrow? So just take 30 seconds, write something down. Good. If you can, feel free to put it in the chat. We always love to see kind of what are you taking away from today. So if you're comfortable, feel free to share it with us. What did we cover? We covered about the power of rhetoric. So I hope you go away, think next time, am I sharing logic? Am I sharing the credibility? Have I got some pathos and feelings in there? If not, maybe there's an opportunity to bring in a story. Maybe I'll even start with a story. And then how does that story kind of show up? Are there some lows in there? That's why we get people to lean in. So getting people to care about stuff, show them the worst case scenario, best case scenario, bring in those story shapes and the contrast between them. And hopefully we had a good Q&A. Hopefully we answered some of your questions. I hope so. All those lessons that we've shared with, they're just a tiny little bit from our Domino 1 program. If you're interested in it and you're like, I'd kind of, Lucy's referenced it, I'd like to learn a little bit more about this stuff. We cover first impressions, structures, and some story shapes that we've kind of referenced today. We'd also talk about the importance use of our voice. Voice really matters when we show up and deliver stories, body language, and also how do we prep? How do we get ready to present something? It's not like our everyday. So how do we get ready for that? And how do we manage some nerves? And Max is going to give a tiny thing about that shortly. Also some rhetoric. We've done a little bit of rhetoric today and some powerful tools, storytelling being one of them. And then improv speaking. What about when we show up and we don't know what we're going to say? And where do we show up at our best when we find our speaking territory? What does that look like? So we've got a little offer for you, our July cohort. We're giving you, we've got minimum places kind of left, but if you want one, we're going to give you 10% off. So Friends of Strive, 10% off. Scan the QR code and you can use the word Strive. Okay. It's over to you. Right, Max, I'm going to hand over to you to close.
I'm ready to share. I'm just sort of think how we've got 2 minutes, crikey. So I started off with this Iceland panic attack, slightly, pivotal part of my career. And one of the things that I learned in the work that happened after is I need a good ritual that settles me before I go into these high stakes speaking environments. And I think that this actually speaks to, if you're going into a tough meeting to present difficult results, doing this before can really help. So I'm going to share a little bit of my ritual. It's a little breathing exercise, like sometimes do it in the loo, sometimes just do it outside the room if not many people there. So we're going to do it together. I'll do 1 breath, then we'll do 3, and then we'll close the meeting down abruptly. Okay? So this is how it looks. It's called falling bees breath. So I take a nice breath of air through my nose. I fill up my lungs. I then exhale and I hum from a high pitch to a low pitch. And I make the exhale longer than the in. That's it. So I'll show you 1 and we'll do 3 together. So. Could you hear that with noise cancelling? Yeah? Okay. Let's do 3. Okay. In. In. Last one. Okay. Hopefully you're feeling a bit zen or a bit silly. And feeling silly before these high stakes speaking moments is actually a great thing. Settles the nervous system down. So I hope you enjoyed that little weirdness and your colleagues around you think strange. That would be an added bonus and make me very happy. Right, thank you for inviting us, Lucy. We really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. That was so much fun. And yeah, a lovely little revisit on some of the bits from Domino 1. I went through Max's Domino 1. There was a little bit of pressure on me today. This is the first thing I've done since. So hopefully a living example of how wonderful it
You
is.
did great.
It really changed how I thought about kind of storytelling, presenting, and presentation. So if you are even a little bit tempted to join it, maybe for you or your teams, please do just get in touch with Max and Maddy. They're absolutely not hard sellers at all. So they're happy just to have a quick chat for you to get more of a feel for it. And then you can go on your merry way and when the time is right. For you, a quick few things. I can see folk dropping off, but the recording and slides will land in your inbox shortly, along with that offer from Domino 1 and a little bit more information about that. We'll also include the link to the video too. If you've got a question we didn't get to, pop it in an email to us and we'll follow up directly. And if today made you wince about how you're currently presenting your own results, that's exactly what Strive's built for, and that's exactly what Keynote Club is built for too. So do make sure you're connecting with us and keeping in the loop with all of our news. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you again, Max and Maddy. I just know the short hour you had with us did so much for everyone in the room, and we will see you all at the next one. Bye,
Nice one, Liz.
everyone. Have a
Cheerio,
lovely
everyone.
day.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.